Spoiled billionaire forced to marry his uncle's ugly daughter, but she drove him crazy in love. Intro, strong hook. The guests whispered behind their champagne glasses as the groom walked down the aisle with a frown. That's Ethan Blackwell, the youngest billionaire in New York. And he's marrying her. All eyes turned to the bride, a quiet woman in a simple ivory gown. She didn't wear designer makeup or diamonds. Her name was Clara Hayes, and society had already branded her the ugly niece. But no one knew not yet that the spoiled billionaire was about to meet the one woman who would change his entire world. Scene 1, the arrangement. Ethan Blackwell had never been told no in his life. He inherited a tech empire, owned a private jet by 25, and switched girlfriends like phone models. But when his uncle, the chairman of the Blackwell Foundation, called him to his mansion one evening, things changed. "You're reckless, Ethan," his uncle said coldly. "You're losing investors, ignoring the company's humanitarian work. You need to settle down, show the world you have heart." "And how do you suggest I do that?" By one Ethan laughed. The older man slid a photo across the desk. "Marry my niece, Clara Hayes. She's quiet, educated, kind. She'll stabilize your image, or I'll cut you out of the inheritance." Ethan froze. He'd heard of her, the reclusive art teacher who rarely attended family events. Rumors said she was plain, socially awkward, and had no interest in wealth. "You're joking," he muttered. "I'm not. Marry her, or lose everything." And just like that, Ethan, the spoiled billionaire, found himself trapped in a marriage he didn't want. Scene 2, the first meeting. Their wedding was small and awkward. Clara didn't smile much, Ethan didn't bother pretending. But when they arrived at his Manhattan penthouse, she simply placed her bag by the guest room door and said softly, "I won't get in your way, Ethan. I know you didn't choose this. You can live your life, I'll live mine." He looked at her, expecting tears or demands. Instead, she spent her evenings painting in silence, humming old songs, sometimes leaving coffee and handwritten notes for the staff. There was a warmth to her presence, quiet but undeniable. Still, Ethan mocked her behind her back, calling her "my contract wife" to his friends. Until one night changed everything. Scene 3, the storm night. A thunderstorm knocked out power across the city. Ethan came home drunk from a party, angry that Clara had refused to attend. He stumbled into her studio and froze. The walls were filled with portraits of him. Not the billionaire version, no suits, no arrogance, just sketches of him asleep on the couch, staring out the window, holding a stray cat he'd rescued last week. Beneath one sketch, her handwriting read, "He hides his sadness behind sarcasm." Ethan's chest tightened. He'd never told anyone how empty his life felt, yet somehow, this woman he'd mocked, saw him. That night, as the rain poured, he found her on the balcony, shivering with a blanket around her shoulders. "Why do you draw me like that?" he asked. "Because I see the real you," she whispered. "And I think, you're kinder than you let the world believe." For the first time, Ethan didn't know what to say. Scene 4, the change. Days turned into weeks. Ethan began noticing things: how Clara helped the janitors in his office without anyone knowing. How she spent her weekends teaching art to kids from low-income families. And how, when he spoke, really spoke, she listened, without judgment. He found himself leaving meetings early just to have dinner with her. He laughed again. He felt human again. But just as his heart began to change, his past came knocking. Scene 5, the ex returns. At a charity gala, Ethan's ex-girlfriend Vanessa appeared glamorous, sharp, and cruelly curious. "So this is your wife," she smirked, glancing at Clara. "Did your uncle pick her from a charity too?" Ethan waited for Clara to shrink back, but she smiled politely. "No. He picked me because I make him a better man." Vanessa laughed. But when Ethan reached for Clara's hand and said softly, "She's right," the entire ballroom fell silent. In that moment, everyone saw it: the spoiled billionaire was in love with the woman he'd once been ashamed of. Scene 6, The Revelation. A few weeks later, Clara collapsed during one of her art classes. Ethan rushed her to the hospital terrified. The doctor revealed she had a chronic heart condition, something she'd kept hidden since childhood. "Why didn't you tell me?" Ethan demanded, eyes red. "Because you didn't owe me love," she whispered. "You owed me honesty. And I didn't want your pity." That night, Ethan stayed by her side, holding her fragile hand. All the money, the fame, the arrogance, it meant nothing. "You can't leave me now," he whispered. "I haven't told you yet that you're my everything." When Clara opened her eyes, she smiled weakly. "Then tell me tomorrow," she murmured, "when you've learned how to live like the man I saw in my paintings." Scene 7, The Transformation. The next months changed Ethan completely. He sold his luxury cars, opened free art centers in Clara's name, and began investing in social projects. He no longer sought headlines, he sought meaning. And when Clara recovered, he proposed again, this time without contracts, lawyers, or cameras. In a quiet art studio filled with their paintings, he knelt down and said, "You were right. You made me see the man I could be. I don't deserve you, but I'll spend my life trying to." Clara, tears in her eyes, finally smiled. "Then paint this moment in your heart and never forget it." Ending, emotional climax and positive message. Years later, the tabloids no longer called Ethan spoiled, they called him the billionaire with a heart. And at every charity gala, by his side stood Clara, radiant, confident, and loved. People who once whispered the ugly niece now said, "She's the woman who changed him." Because true beauty, Ethan realized, wasn't in the face. It was in the soul that saw light in others even when the world didn't. Moral: sometimes, love doesn't arrive wrapped in perfection. It arrives quietly through kindness, honesty, and the courage to see beauty where no one else does.